Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Relationships. Sometimes evil stepsisters do exist, and today we've got two stories that prove it. But before we begin, don't forget about Lost Genre AITA Daily, a channel dedicated exclusively to Am I the A-hole? So let's get started with the first one. This one's from user ThrowArray6554671. My stepsister is telling the whole family my boyfriend got her pregnant to make herself feel better. Sorry, weird title. So, I, 25 female, met my boyfriend Tim, 26 male, 3.5 years ago. We hit it off. He was great and sweet and we get along perfectly, until I introduced him to my family. My mom had gotten remarried a few months earlier. I like my stepdad and we get along fine. My stepsister Sarah, who is 26 female, and I were friendly but not besties by any means. She is kind of an intense party girl, and being in our 20s, we only saw each other at family events. So I introduced Tim to my family, at which point we learned that Sarah used to date Tim when they were 20. It was only a few months, and Tim said they broke up because she made out with another guy at a nightclub while drunk. Sarah got upset and started saying I had to break up with him because it was weird. She called Tim her sloppy seconds and tried to get our parents to force us to break up. I said no. It had been years since they'd been together and I didn't even know Sarah when she was dating Tim. I got pretty upset because my family jumped on the bandwagon of saying we should break up. For the past few years, at any family gathering, Sarah would mention how they used to date and act like I stole her boyfriend and has been selling that narrative to my family and friends. It became obvious that she was jealous, but I liked Tim, so we just ignored it and kept dating. So now, a few years later, Tim and I live together and we've been talking about marriage and stuff, and recently had a conversation with my mom about how I thought Tim was going to propose because he's not exactly subtle, and we've talked about this for a while. At which point Sarah, who just moved back in with our parents, walked in. She started asking a bunch of invasive questions about our relationship and being weird. Sarah is 4 months pregnant. The father, she said, was some deadbeat guy she'd hook up with who wants nothing to do with her, but she wants to keep the baby. I'd been making an effort taking her to appointments and offering to help babysit and trying to be excited for her. Until a week ago when my stepdad sent me a long text saying how I can't marry Tim because he is the real father of Sarah's baby. I was immediately very upset and confronted Tim, who was completely shocked and said Sarah was lying. He said there was no way and he didn't cheat on me and he would gladly have a paternity test to prove that. Unsure, I asked Sarah for more details about when they slept together, which she says happened a few times. She was shaky and went back and forth on details. The dates and times don't match up with what I can remember of what Tim and I had been doing. She also said she came to our house to see him, but since Rona, I've been working from home, so I can't imagine that they managed that. I'm pretty sure now that she's lying to get us to break up because she's still jealous. But now my family are involved and have been sending me hateful messages saying I need to break up with Tim and let him be with Sarah. She's telling everyone he's in love with her and I'm keeping him from her. She has no proof and he strictly denied everything. I texted her asking for proof of any of this happening and she sent me some fake photoshopped screenshots that I can tell are fake, where she's put Tim's name over a friend's number and pretended he was messaging her. I checked, and the friend all but admitted it to me and tried to laugh it off. She badly photoshopped the timestamps. I believe Tim, and we are still together, but this has kind of thrown a wedge in everything. Sarah has poisoned my relationship with our parents and my family. I feel sick to my stomach, and Sarah is now saying she won't give me a paternity test. For now, I've cut everyone off except Tim. Well, OP, I don't know why you would want to keep a relationship with this person, especially after all she did to you before all this pregnancy stuff. And for this whole paternity thing, I would say take her to court. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't know if this could be like defamation of character. But at the very least, there is some paternity here and needs to be addressed. So if she's claiming that Tim is the father, then let's get a court to rule over that, right? So now, let's move on to the next story. This one's from user throwawayFNF. My 28 female stepsister, 29 female, slept with my ex-fiancé, 37 male, and married him. It's been 5 years, and my family thinks I should be over it already. When I was 23, now 28, I was engaged to Ryan. He was 32 and now 37. Our engagement ended when my stepsister Kelly was 24, now 29, begged me to leave him because they loved each other, but Ryan was too afraid to break up with me because he didn't want to hurt me or my family. When I confronted Ryan about it, he denied it, said she had been trying to come on to him for some time and he never mentioned it because he didn't want to ruin our relationship. He begged me not to believe her, and so we continued how we were. Kelly grew resentful and made nasty comments about how I was forcing a man who didn't even love me to marry me because I had low self-esteem constantly. A month later, she sent me a video of them being intimate in my bed and multiple screenshots of him telling her he loved her, how he wished she was the girl he was marrying, how he hated that I wouldn't let them be together. I was devastated and angry, but my best friend convinced me not to go nuclear on them and instead to quietly move out when Ryan was at work the next week. So that's what I did. I contacted my dad and my stepmom and asked them if I could move in temporarily. I removed the money I had contributed into our joint account for wedding expenses and transferred the rest to him before closing the account. Once I got settled in, I sent all of the screenshots she sent me to all of our relatives and his. Ryan tried to get back together with me multiple times, but I ended up blocking him when I found out he had proposed to her with the same ring he gave me. I left it behind. Now, Kelly is my stepsister from my mom's side. I have another stepsister, 36, and stepbrother, 38, from my mom's second marriage, and a half-sister, 26. They all went to the wedding. Whenever I tried to express, I was hurt by the fact that they were just supporting Kelly and Ryan as though what they did to me meant nothing. They would shrug it off and say they couldn't cut them out completely because they were family. I haven't spent a single holiday with my mom's side since. Neither has my older biological brother or sister. I only see my mom and half-sister when I invite them over to my place as Kelly and Ryan moved in with my mom and stepdad a year after they got married. Our relationship is very rocky, but I've grown closer to my dad and stepmom and their children, and older stepbrother and 2 younger half-siblings who have all been very supportive since this all happened, so it's not all been bad. On New Year's Day, my boyfriend, now husband, proposed to me. We had a small engagement party which I invited my mom and half-sister to. They never turned up because I was excluding half of our family. I never invited my stepdad or step-siblings because they were pretty hurtful when it came out that Kelly and Ryan were sleeping together. They claimed it wasn't their fault I got in the way of true love and made me out to be some sort of vindictive Disney villain for being angry with them. We were planning to have our wedding ceremony this summer, but in late February, my husband suggested we postponed it until next year because he was concerned the bug would get worse and we would have to reschedule anyway. I ended up finding out I was pregnant a month before our original date, so we had a courthouse wedding on that date with the plan to hold the ceremony next year. Only my dad's side of the family were aware of both the pregnancy and the wedding. My stepmom likes to knit, so she's been making some stuff for the baby. Recently, she posted about the things she had made on Facebook, with a caption talking about how excited she was to have another grandchild soon. I was tagged in the post. I have 0 issues with the post. I never told my family I wasn't going to inform my mom's side. It wasn't that I intentionally hid it from her, she just never seemed very interested in my life or relationship, so I never brought it up. My mom called me an hour later to demand to know if I was pregnant and how she couldn't believe I hadn't told her she was finally going to be a grandmother. She has since invited me and my husband over to her house multiple times. I have declined every single time for the obvious reason. My stepdad, who I've barely spoken to in 5 years, has reached out to tell me how excited he is to meet the baby and my husband. Same with my siblings. Even Kelly reached out to my husband to congratulate us. I was furious. The next time my mom and stepdad called, I finally laid into them. I told them I didn't want them to keep inviting me over when they knew I would be forced to see Kelly and Ryan if I came. I told them how hurt and angry I still am over what they did to me and how my family dismissed my feelings. I told them how they wouldn't throw Kelly and Ryan away, but they were so quick to leave me out to rot whilst I was going through the worst betrayal I'd ever experienced in my life. I told them that I wasn't even sure I wanted people like them in my child's life. My mom was crying hysterically and kept saying I was being cruel and I couldn't deprive her of her first grandchild. The thing is, my baby isn't her first grandchild. My sister has 2 adopted daughters already, who my mom doesn't even try to bond with. She kept wailing about how I might be the only person in our family to even give her grandchildren. My stepsisters are both having a hard time getting or staying pregnant, and my half-sister has proclaimed herself to be child-free. My stepdad got angry and defensive. He claimed I was petty for holding on to something that happened 5 years ago. He pointed out how I had found someone else, so I should understand how love works, and sometimes 2 people just can't help themselves. You love who you love, basically. He said Kelly and Ryan were happy together, so I should be happy for them the way they're happy for me and my husband. The ironic thing is, my sister told me Kelly and Ryan looked like they were on the verge of divorce, and they argue constantly. My mom complains to her about them, and how my siblings all hate him but pretend they like him for Kelly's sake. I ended up hanging up because I was so angry, and when I get angry, I start crying. I didn't want them to think they got to me. Since I've been receiving texts and calls non-stop from my mom's family, they're all essentially telling me I should be over things already. It's gotten to the point me and my husband have switched phones so he can screen my messages for me and I don't have to read them. Well, OP, that definitely sucks, particularly the part your mom played in all of this. She should have been there for you and she should have really stood up for your feelings. It's totally cool that you cut everybody on that side of the family out, and if you don't want them to be a part of your child's life, you and your child and your husband will be better off for it. As for Kelly and Ryan, if you don't want to forgive them, that's fine. That's your decision. But what you can do is forget them. Just let them fade away into the past and focus on the good things you have today. Your husband, the baby that's coming, the wedding party next year. Also the fact that you have a whole family that's right behind you and that supports and loves you. And that's the most important thing. And I guess your mom is some sort of casualty of war that you're gonna have to cut off, because if she's still unable to validate your feelings, then she's out. But then again, that's just my opinion. So what do you guys think? What do you think OP should do about this whole thing? Why don't you share your opinion in the comment section? And so we've reached the end of the video. I truly hope you liked it. And if you did, go ahead and click like. If you haven't subscribed yet, go ahead and click subscribe as well with the bell so you get notified. Also, don't forget about the new channel, Lost Genre Am I the A-Hole Daily. And finally, don't forget to visit the Lost Genre subreddit where you can share your own story for me to feature in videos or cross-post stories from other subs. And having said all that, I will see you guys in the next video.